Hello, my name is Juan Pablo Peña, and we are going to present our third assignment of Discourse Analysis.
And hi, my name is Jaime Sanhueza. This assignment will cover the topics of text types and functions. The objective of this assignment is to test our knowledge of text types, scaffolding, syntactical features, recurrence rules, progression patterns, and connectivity.
The instructions were to identify the genre and function of two texts, explain and exemplify the scaffolding, the most relevant grammatical features, 4 recurrence rules, the most frequent progression pattern, and the most frequent connection.
This is a narrative text with the function of telling a story in the form of a sequence of time and events. In this case, it's the first chapter of a novel called Elizabeth is Missing, about Maud, an old woman with Alzheimer, and her friend.
The scaffolding is the architecture of the text. In narrative text, we have first an orientation, which gives the context, characters, and settings of the story. We identify a first-person narrator at the setting. When I finish eating, I wander back to the sitting room. It's so quiet in here, even my clock doesn't tick out loud. I have hours of the day to fill, and at some point, I have to switch on the TV. Then she introduced Elizabeth, her only friend left, to whose company makes her feel like herself. Second, a complication, or the main problem that triggers the change of events. We can see that Elizabeth has gone missing and the Maud doesn't remember where she is. I have a horrible feeling something has happened to her. Anything could have. There was something on the news yesterday, I think, about an old woman, something unpleasant, and now Elizabeth disappeared. Third, the sequence of events, or how the characters react to the complication. In this paragraph, we see that with the disappearance of Elizabeth, Maud will attempt to phone her. And fourth, the resolution, which is the end of the text when the complication is sorted out. This is not present here as it's just the first chapter of the whole book.
There are several grammar features of narrative text found in this book. Dynamic verbs which convey an action, process, or movement that involve a change in state or condition in the characters. In this paragraph we have plenty of them, such as Carla shouts from the kitchen. She says, going through my cupboards. Half of the stuff disappears home with her. I need to go home shopping again. Nouns to identify characters and places. We can see elements such as clothes, megaphone, gramophones, and cupboards. Spaces such as a house, floor, or kitchen. Or characters such as Carla, mother, and dad. Adverbs to connect events, which allows the transition from one point to another. In this paragraph we have two examples. A few years ago I would have been appalled at myself watching the TV, which serves the purpose of a flashback. I could watch TV. After that I'm just waiting, which reflects her monotonous life. Adjectives that add information about the elements in the scene. This paragraph depicts a supermarket with loaded shelves, blue and white linoleum, which is dirty and cranky, an empty basket, and a heavy tin of peach slices.
Now, the recurrence rules, or rules for elements that appear again to maintain cohesion and coherence. In the first case, we can see a repetition, where the same element appears twice in this text. Carla shouts from the kitchen. Carla, the caterer. Then we have an anaphoric procedure, which gives reference avoiding repetition. If we use pronouns and determiners, it is a pronominalization. Here it introduces the element my daughter and then refers to her as she. If the unit is early introduced, it is called anaphoric reference. Then we have a lexical substitution, or substitution of one element for another. In this case, it talks about sweets such as sherbet lemon, caramel cup, polo mints, or box of toffees. The first term is an umbrella term, or an hypernym. Elision is a rule where an already mentioned subject is then omitted. I push the door shut and sit at my dressing table by the window. In sentences, there is a theme, which is the starting point of the utterance, and the rhyme, which is the information added. How these patterns interact are called progression rules.
The most recurrent one was a constant thematic progression, where the theme is repeated. Eggs, milk, and chocolate is the theme, and the new information regarding the shopping list is added. In the connection rules, we have connections and relations. they establish relationships between grammatical components or pieces of information. One of the connections are the implicit connections or punctuation marks. We can see briefly here the use of periods, commas, quotation marks, and question marks. The other connection is the explicit connection, or connectors. We can see coordinators, such as and, or and, but, and subordinators, such as when. Relations are a connection rule that refer to the grammatical features. The most frequent one was noun-of-a-noun relations, such as the one on this paragraph, probably due to the narrative nature of the text.
The analyzed text is a descriptive text about a military aircraft, the F-22 Raptor. The text is presented in the format of a datasheet with technical information and facts. A descriptive text has the function of describing an object, place, process, or person. In this case, it is describing an object. Descriptive texts present more technical, objective information.
A descriptive text possesses a general opening statement on the first paragraph. In this case being, the F-22 Raptor is considered the first fifth-generation fighter in the U.S. Air Force inventory.
Series of paragraphs about the subject. The following series of paragraphs about the subject provide information about the role, characteristics, and capabilities of the item who is the subject of the text. Concluding paragraph. Generally optional, provides a closure and extra bits of information about the subject of the text.
Descriptive texts have a set of 5 important grammatical features, which are the following. Use of lexical verbs establishing relational processes. In this case, the lexical verb will have is establishing the relation between the subject, the F-22, and the predicate, being the reliability and maintainability mentioned in the sentence. Use of adjectives. This is to give characteristics of the subject, in this case, the characteristics of the F-22, such as low observable technologies, modern avionics, and efficient engines. We also have noun complementation. Here we have an example of a non-defining relative clause to complement the noun, the F-22 Raptor, to refer to information of the F-22, but not necessarily important to the text. In this case, the F-22 Raptor being a critical component of the Global Strike Task Force. We also have the use of attributes or facts, which states objective information about the subject, in this case, the stealth capabilities of the F-22. And for last, we have the predominant use of simple present tense, which can be seen on these sentences.
Here we have the 4 most common examples of recurrence rules. Repetition is the reappearance of the same element in different parts of the text. In this case, the repeated term is the F-22 Raptor. Secondly, lexical substitution is the substitution of one element for another, be it a synonym, hypernym, also called umbrella term, or hyponym, also called subordinate term. Here we can observe the use of an hypernym to introduce the topic of the paragraph, and later on said topic is expanded upon. In this case, it starts by introducing the umbrella term, the F-22 characteristics, and then it specifies said characteristics. Hyponym is another concept referring to the use of a subordinate term and then introduce the umbrella term. In this case, it first starts specifying 3 subjects and then the term under which they fall. We also have coreference, which is the use of linguistic expressions to refer to an element previously mentioned and made easier thanks to knowledge about the word, because it's only valid on certain contexts. In this case, the word used is raptor, which is being used to refer to the airplane, but in other contexts it can be used to refer to a species of dinosaur. Elision refers to elimination of subjects when it has been mentioned more than once, only present in compound predicates. In this case, the subordinator which replaces the subject current fighters on the subordinate clause.
There are 3 types of progression patterns: constant, linear, or derived. In this case, the most frequent pattern is constant, which is the type of progression where the theme is always the same and rims provide new information in the form of different predicates. Throughout all the text, the theme is always the same, this one being the F-22 Raptor, and the rims provide new information about the theme, which is the F-22 Raptor. We have different types of connections: those that establish relations, and connectors, which can be implicit or explicit. The adjective plus noun being the most common relation, mostly due to the explanatory nature or descriptive nature of the text, and commas and parentheses being the most common example of implicit connectors, as shown in the example here in the picture. We also have an example of the use of a subordinator, which, to create an explicit case of coordination and generating a complex sentence.
With this, we have reached the end of the presentation.
We hope that you learned about text types and functions. Goodbye!